Episode 47. The Mammoth at Wilder Ranch. Wilder Ranch has a way of looking innocent from the road. Just a stretch of open land north of Santa Cruz. Old barns, split rail fences, a blacksmith shop that still smells like iron and yesterday, and a cabin that looks like it's been losing arguments with the wind since 1902. But hikers started calling it in like it was a crime scene. Not, we got lost. Not, we heard a mountain lion. No, this was different. They said the fog moved against the wind. They said the ground made a sound like something huge shifting its weight. They said they saw people out there, people dressed wrong for the century, standing in a line like they were waiting for something to happen again. That's how it always starts. A place gets tired of pretending it's only one time at once. I was already holding my coffee when the first call came in. I always am. If you've ever seen a man who looks like he's shaking hands with his own cup, that's me. My grip's so permanent I filed a disability claim. Denied. The letter said, and I quote in spirit, "Sir, please stop doing this." I'm still bitter. Coffee's cold, too. Always cold. Like it's punishing me on principle. Anyway, Wilder Ranch. The part folks didn't want to say the word, but I heard it in their silence. Mammoth. They didn't say it like a joke. They said it like a confession. And that's where you come in, Dave. You told me casually, like you were describing a deer, that you saw something up there that looked like a woolly mammoth. Most people would have laughed. I didn't. I've done this long enough to know that when the world gets weird, it usually chooses one person to tell the truth through, and then punishes everyone else for not believing it. You told me something else too. Something you didn't make a big deal out of, which is usually how important things slip through. You said your family has Ohlone blood. A lot of it. You said your great-grandmother was a tribal elder who lived to at least 113, officially. The paperwork said one thing, she said another. Said the baptism certificate everyone trusted came years after she'd already been living her life. I've learned to listen when people talk about records that don't line up with memory. Then it hit me. A few weeks earlier, I'd given you an arrowhead for Christmas. Not as evidence, not as a joke, just something I picked up years ago and the family had and never had a place for. At the time, it didn't mean anything. Standing at Wilder, though, with the fog settling in and the ground feeling heavier than it should, I realized something uncomfortable. I hadn't given you a gift. I'd handed something back to the land and let it decide who was going to carry it. So I asked you to come with me. Not because I needed backup, because I needed translation. We drove up as the afternoon light started getting thin and gray, like the day was trying to leave early. Wilder Ranch was quiet in that way places get when they're holding their breath. We walked past old barns, past the ranch buildings from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and we ended up near the blacksmith shop. That shop always does something to the air. Iron does that. Makes it feel like the world used to be heavier, like people had to fight just to shape a nail. You pointed toward the open field and said, "Right there." I asked, "That close?" You said, "Close enough, but it felt distant." That's the kind of sentence that shows up right before trouble. I tried to light a cigarette, purely as a symbolic gesture, you understand, to honor the concept of smoking without promoting it, in a compliance with all reasonable broadcast expectations, and it didn't take. Wind. Damp. Fate. Pick one. You took a few steps ahead, looking at the ground like you were listening with your eyes. And then the fog rolled in. Not like normal coastal fog, This fog came in low and fast, tugging the dirt like it was searching for something it dropped a long time ago. I turned my head for half a second to complain to nobody about my coffee being cold. It's a reflex, like blinking, like regretting. When I turned back, you were gone. No shout, no stumble, no, "Hey Billy, check this out." Just empty air and a field full of fog. And there was something else. Your arrowhead. Not lost, not dropped, placed. Pressed halfway into the dirt like the land had it accepted a return. I called your name, loud, then louder, then quiet, because when places like Wilder Ranch go silent, it's not polite to shout. The only answer was that deep, rhythmic sound. Not footsteps, something heavier. Something that makes the ground feel like it's remembering being soft. The sound carried down slope away from the field toward the old cabin nearly 2 miles back, the run-down one, still standing, mostly out of habit. I followed it. Inside, the air was colder than my coffee, which, for the record, is hard to do. The walls had scratches up high, not claw marks like an animal, more like something brushing by with strength it didn't even notice. And in one of the beams, there were curved gouges, tusk-shaped, like the wood itself had been tested by a thing that didn't believe in modern architecture. Then the fog thickened, and the world did that thing it does when time forgets where it put the present. I saw them. Figures moving like smoke with purpose. Ohlone hunters. Ghostly but not hazy. Not decorative. Not spooky for fun. They looked real in a way that made me feel like the ghost. They moved in a line, each one focused, each one carrying the weight of a practiced hunt. No wasted motion, no confusion. And then I saw one who didn't move right. His stance was off, too upright, too modern, like someone had learned the shape of the hunt but not the language. He turned, and even in that pale, drifting light, I knew him. Dave, you weren't standing beside the past, you were inside it. And the worst part wasn't the fear, it was the feeling that this had already happened, and the land was just running the tape again. The mammoth stepped into view, or something that remembered being a mammoth. It was massive, shaggy, ancient, but not angry. Its eyes weren't wild. Its eyes were tired. Like it had been chased across centuries and never once got an apology. The hunters moved, the line tightened, the air changed, and you, Dave, moved wrong. A half-second hesitation, a step where there shouldn't be one. Like you were thinking in modern time, where people pause, where people doubt, where people wonder if they should be filming this on a phone. The mammoth swung its head, not in rage, in instinct. The ground shook once, clean heavy, and you went down like the scene had decided you didn't belong in it. No gore, no spectacle, just erased, like a chalk mark wiped off a board. The mammoth turned and moved away through the fog, and for the briefest moment it felt like I was doing something worse than killing. It felt like it was making a point. Not about your people, about the cruelty of repetition, about how history doesn't always care who's trying their best in the wrong place. Then the whole vision collapsed, like someone snapped a book shut. The hunters vanished, the cabin breathed, the fog loosened its grip, and I was alone again with my cold coffee and my unlit, legally respectful cigarette. They'll tell you Wilder Ranch is peaceful, a lovely park, a perfect hike, a slice of history you can visit and then leave. But I'm telling you, some history doesn't want visitors. Some history wants witnesses. And sometimes the land sees someone carrying a thread, an old thread, an Ohlone thread, and it pulls, not because it hates you, because it remembers you, because it doesn't know how to let go. They never found you, Dave. No tracks leading out, no signs of struggle, just that arrowhead in the dirt and a section of ranch that suddenly felt satisfied. I kept the arrowhead. Not as evidence, not as a trophy, as an apology. I don't know how to say out loud. And if you're listening somewhere, across time, across fog, across whatever wild a ranch does to a man, Dave, well, I hope you know this. You weren't taken because you were weak. You were taken because the past got confused and mistook you for a missing piece. And the worst part? The past doesn't say sorry. Just keeps walking. And I keep holding this coffee, pretending it's hot. Which brings me to a little poem. And Dave, wherever you are, this one is for you, buddy. The fog drew lines the land obeyed. The world rules were set, the price was paid. Dave hunted wrong and stepped too late. He stood where no good hunter waits, and the night grew still and quiet. The mammoth turned and stomped him flat. Bad instincts don't survive like that. The hunt went on, and that was that. And that's why I don't wave at fog. Until next time, this has been your detective, Billy Armi.